What's up, guys? Paul Evicola here, and I was listening to an audio the other day by Anthony Robbins, and it was funny because I was talking to someone about it, and all of a sudden, he got very, very negative. He's like, "Oh, Anthony Robbins, I've heard him before, but he doesn't ever say anything of use. It's not applicable. It's just a bunch of crap he throws into people's heads to make them feel good." And to a degree, I didn't really agree with him, but to a degree, he had a point. But it's only because he was negative. It's only because he had created so many excuses with his own life that he had a negative opinion towards someone who, made $300 million in one day. And so obviously a guy like Anthony Robbins kind of knows what he's doing. He also knows how to cut down through the conscious layer, get to the subconscious layer in people's lives to the point where he can actually start to change their patterns and change their focus. But I was listening to a story, and he was sitting up at a TED Talk, and at that TED Talk he had 18 minutes to talk, and it's something that he rarely does. He usually speaks for a lot more. But as he was speaking, he asked the very first question. This is what he asked the crowd: "Have any of you ever failed before?" And the crowd was silent. They were dead. They weren't feeling it. So no one raised their hand. And he's like, "All right, here's the deal, you guys. If you don't raise your hand right now, if all of you don't raise your hand right now, then you're telling me you're all going to lie the next time too?" And so everyone, slowly started to raise their hand. Everyone raised their hand. And then he asked them, "Well, why is it that you failed? Why did you fail?" And slowly, he started to hear people start to answer, "Well, I didn't have enough time. I was always busy with work, and I just didn't have enough time to go and build my dream. I just didn't have enough, I didn't have enough of the right people, okay? My best friend that I was working with left. He was gone, and so I couldn't really build with him anymore." And then it was funny because a guy who was running for president, Al Gore, said, "The Supreme Court wasn't on my side." And that really made me laugh. And then you got to realize, there was something that was very common between each and every single one of these answers, and here's what it was. Every single one of these people answered with a lack of resources. Every single one of them had a lack of resources. They said, "I didn't have the time, I didn't have the money, I wasn't around the right people. It wasn't, when the economy was bad." These were all resources. He's like, "Okay, well, here's a commonality. You're all making, these, excuses based off of a resource, but it's not the resources that cause you to fail. It's your lack of resourcefulness." See, I know so many times where people came from nothing. I've had so many, in my own personal experience, in my own life, I had to come from nothing. I was literally dead broke as a college student, started up my own business with $30 to my name, and somehow I managed to do it, okay? It literally left me, in the slumps. And I know many stories of other people, including Oprah, including, Dr. Oz, including so many people. Phil, what's the guy's name? Dr. Phil. These people that came from nothing, started from nothing. Arnold Schwarzenegger, they started from nothing. Yet it was their resourcefulness that allowed them to achieve great heights. Okay? They decided that I wasn't going to allow any excuse to come into my life to hold me back from achieving what I really wanted to achieve. And it wasn't the fact that, okay, well, I didn't have the right people, because some of these people had it way worse than me. Some of these people had lifestyles and situations where they were literally broken to the point where they realized, if I don't stand right now, life is going to keep me down the entire time. So it wasn't their lack of resources. It was it's most of the time it's people's lack of resourcefulness. They use their resourcefulness to create the resources around them so they could create the lifestyle that they wanted to live, so they could achieve the things that they wanted to achieve. And with that, I'm going to leave it right there. But I want you guys to start thinking, are you starting to make excuses in your own life? See, some of us are so good at making excuses, and we're so used to it, that by now, we don't even realize we're making excuses. We don't even realize that we're talking about our lack of resources instead of our lack of our own resourcefulness. But I want to toss it off to Nick so he can kind of explain to you, give you a few more examples on how we make excuses as human beings and how those really negatively affect us in our own lives.
All right, you guys, coming off what Paul just said, I heard a quote from Jordan Belfort, and he said, "The only thing that's standing between you and success is the bullshit story you keep telling yourself as to why you can't achieve it." When I heard that, it made so much sense, you guys, because I used to make so many excuses in my life. Back when I used to work at that hospital, if you've heard my story, making minimum wage to scrub dishes for a living, I made excuse day after day. I would always tell myself, and I would say, if only my boss would give me a raise, if only I get a raise, raise. Instead of saying, in order for me to get a raise, I would have to become more valuable to the marketplace, I just said, oh, if only I work harder, if only if I stay here long enough, you know, I'm gonna make more money. And I got trapped in a bad pattern of negative thinking and negative excuse making for 4 whole years, you guys. Worked that job from my freshman year in high school up until my freshman year in college. And you know, excuses, they sound best to the person that's making them up. So they were sounding pretty great to me at that time, but I didn't realize that if I was in a bad pattern of making excuses, of negative thinking, I had to be willing to do something different in order to get a different result. And if you catch yourself in a situation where you're making excuses, but you want to live a dream lifestyle, you guys, Paul and I were working on a project. We're gonna help you go from a situation where you're at right now, if you're not happy, in order to get into a successful lifestyle where you have time and financial freedom. So go ahead and click the link beneath this video, you guys. Check that video out, and we'll see you on the next few videos.